Laurie Huston's News for the Heart is dedicated to helping you give a voice to your own soul. Our hearts have the power to free us from pain and the struggles that keep us from awakening to our true essence. Join Laurie now as we delve into our heart and soul to find the path that will open us to the possibilities and lead us to the life we love to live.
And good afternoon. It is News for the Heart, and today I have my awesome co-host Tracy McBurney with me. I always love doing shows with you, Tracy.
I love the laugh, Laurie. I come back for the laugh.
Yeah, that's funny. So just before the show started, we were chatting about what we're going to talk about, and it seemed the will to health?
Wellness.
Wellness.
Will to wellness, will to live. Yeah, so this has been something that came up for me in the last little while. So let's go personal for a minute. So in my personal journey, what I recognized for me, and I think I spoke about it on a different show, how excited I was to have this appointment with Lester and to have this appointment in his office and the extraordinary things that he did that day. And just, it was one of those moments, and maybe it was the only moment in my life that I've ever had where I really felt like I was in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing for the right reasons, totally on board, nothing in the way. I'm here and I'm going to follow this. This is a right thing to follow. And so it was just it was like all the stars aligned. And it was beautiful. And I did move out of that office and I followed the exercise. I don't like to exercise. I followed the exercises. They were simple. They didn't take up a lot of time. I thought, this is my kind of exercise. They were meaningful. They felt like they were doing something. I could track what they were doing. I could watch that I'm getting better and better and better at walking up the stairs without clinging onto the railing for dear life.
Nice.
Like, in other words, if people weren't listening to a show previous to this, the reason why I was even in Lester's office is because I literally was finding myself crawling up our basement stairs because they had no railing and clinging onto the railing going up the upstairs stairs for dear life because I just did not have everything in my legs to get me up those stairs, especially when you got to the top stairs where now you're fighting gravity more. It just became a real problem. And I'm grateful that my husband never put the railing back up on the basement stairs, because if he had, I probably would be still not doing anything about this, because I would not have seen the real destructiveness of this and how much something needed to change and how much I wanted it to change. I didn't want this to be my life. Like 58 years old, I don't want this to be my life. And it was amazing for him to assess an old tailbone injury, and then for him to assess that one of the biggest issues for me was hips, that my hips were doing something rather strange and that they were not supporting things and that they were not connecting into brain, and there were things not connecting to brain. And I knew brain was an issue and a problem, but I didn't know the stuff that he started to tell me, and he started to do amazing things, activating muscles again. And I love that. I for people to hear that concept, the reactivation of a muscle that is not connected to the brain, that's what it means. Like, yes, you've got that muscle, but it's not firing. The brain's not able to talk to it. Right. And that was kind of what was going on for me. And I knew that, but I didn't know anything about the hip. And so that was an extraordinary moment. So anyway, so we get to this. So then what I find is weeks go by. I'm back into his office. I'm working with the massage people. They're realigning things, and I'm still doing the exercises. And now, let's say 3-4 weeks later, I'm starting to recognize that kind of will, that kind of excitement to just keep moving forward, that kind of balloon of energy to just kind of get this job done had started to wane. And so now I was kind of forgetting to do the exercises. I wasn't putting them in play all the time. Now, I discovered one day that one of the exercises that I was told to do was not an exercise I needed to do anymore. So I kind of went, oh, well, then maybe that's it. Like, maybe I don't have to do any of these exercises anymore, but that wasn't the truth. So, okay. So I recognized, all right, well, part of my non-commitment was actually inner knowing. I didn't actually need to do that exercise, but I kept doing it. And when I did it, and then I had to really realize, no, something's waning. Something's waning. What's going on here? I don't have that puffed up feeling anymore that's animating all of this. Like, what's going on? And it came in will to wellness. Will to wellness. Because this would have been, if this had all just continued to be this beautiful animated experience, this would have been really just me moving forward to a greater level of wellness. Because it wasn't just about doing these exercises. It wasn't just about realigning things and activating muscles. It was about the releasing of toxins that were creating problems with the alignment of the brain and the muscles and things. It was about a whole bunch of things. And I was just not as open. I was just not as, the resistance is the wrong word. I just wasn't as open. I just wasn't as engaged. I love that word, engaged. I just wasn't engaged as I was before. So then I started to investigate that with no judgment. And that's a nice thing, to investigate something that's going on that you could judge. You absolutely could judge it. You could scold yourself for it. You could judge yourself for it. But you also have another choice, which is to stop scolding, to stop judging, and to just sit in observation of it. Like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm noticing. So why am I doing that? I'm interested in some more information around this. And I'm open to that information. I'm open to the universe being generous. I'm open to my inner knowing being generous to deliver me information. Like, I am a very generous person. So now I'm sitting there willing to receive generosity. I'm struggling, I'm suffering now in this, and I'd really like some help knowing. Well, to know something is a generosity, right? To have a generosity coming from divine to put you at ease, to deliver you into truth, right? To deliver you into more information. But sometimes we have an issue with that because we're scared of the truth. We're scared of the truth. No, I'm convinced I've got cancer. No, I'm convinced of this. No, I'm convinced of, the fact that I took a bioweapon as a vaccine. I'm convinced of this. I don't want to know.
Right.
I don't want to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we have to move that out a little. Maybe we have to just release the fear of that. Just release the fear. Like, just have the intention of releasing all that fear. Fear of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And just allow the universe to be as generous as the universe can be, because we're never going to be delivered into more truth than we can handle. Right? Mm-hmm. And now that I have that beautiful technology of a divine hug, so then I get delivered into a truth that is a will to wellness truth. Like, well, you're just not in the will to wellness place that you were in. So again, I could scold myself. I could judge myself. I could smack myself. I could punish myself. I could do all of those things when I hear that. If it's that troubling to me, I could just have the intention for a divine hug. Wow, is that what's going on? Divine hug for me. Divine hug for me. Divine hug for me when? Divine hug for me now, the me that's hearing this. The me that's hearing this come in from that place of universe generosity, from that place of source generosity. A divine hug for the me when I first started to lose it, when I first started, whenever that was when I first started to lose that excitement, when that excitement first started to diminish. And a divine hug for every single day that I experienced further diminishment of that excitement that was my excitement in my commitment to will to wellness when I was first in his office. So get a vision of there might be extraordinary amounts of divine hugs happening here, not just one in present time.
Right.
Because maybe there were 50 cycles of diminishment that I didn't even notice until I noticed that I'm really not in the same place. I'm really not in that bubbly, effervescent, here I go, I'm getting this done finally, I'm moving, I'm finally feeling in charge. And that's the other way that it felt, is that I was in charge. Like I was in charge. I was going to do this. I was going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I got the help that I need and I'm going to do this. I got all the help that I need and I'm going to do this. And then that just started to kind of wane. And so I kept looking at that, the will to wellness. Okay, so with the divine hug in place, that meant it's safe. Now it feels safe. Now it feels safe to explore this. I'm not smacking myself, punishing myself, scolding myself, hitting myself. I'm not doing any of those things. I'm just sitting in the I'm safe and secure as I investigate this further. And so I started to realize that were some people, some foundational people in my life that I care about very deeply, very deeply. My mother, my father, my brothers, friends. And it came to my attention that one or more of those was troubling me because they were not in a place of wellness. They were not in a place of will to wellness. That they were in another place and that they were struggling. So how can I be released of struggling? How can I let all of this come in so easily? How can I let all this change and all of this growth come so easily when it's not easy for them and when it's such a struggle for them? Like, how can I walk so well and get to this place of walking so well when my mother can't walk so well and when she can't walk up the stairs so well? How can I do that? How can I leave her? How can I walk away from her? I don't want to walk away from her. I don't want to abandon her. And so therein lies the trouble. I don't want to abandon her. And so it's viewed as abandoning. It's viewed as walking away. It's viewed as taking off. It's viewed as I'm going here when you can't. And I couldn't do that. So I sat there with that. And I was so grateful that I had a divine hug. More than one. I was so grateful that I could come to this place of really just understanding that in my heart that I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't walk the path of walking upstairs and downstairs seamlessly when I saw with my own eyes that that was not a possibility for my mother.
Yeah.
And that same freedom was restricted with, what was okay for my father, that she was not open to abandoning my father, going against my father, doing something that made him uncomfortable. So she was not open to coming to the place that I was going to see Lester. She wasn't open to letting somebody come into the house to work with her. Because it's going to make your father so uncomfortable. He's so filled with comorbidities that, no, I can't do that. So there was this, well, I'll ask your father. But really, it's translated into, no, I can't do that. No, I can't follow you. And so if you can't follow me, then I'll just stop what I'm doing. Or I'll slow it down. And I'll stay with you. Now, when you uncover something like that, and you really have sat in a divine hug, and so there's no desire to punish or hurt or harm, and you're just sitting with that, then you don't even have to ask for compassion, because there just is compassion. There is just compassion flooding in for the predicament. Divine hug for me in this predicament. I'm in a bit of a pickle. She's not moving. Dad's not moving. She's giving away power to him. This is the way that relationship works. He's the boss. And my mother will always be generous to him and always be caring for him. And will never stop caring for him. To her own detriment, she'll never stop caring for him.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, here's my pickle, God. Here's where I am. And then I just sat there and went, okay, so this is why all of this is slowed down. This is why all of this is not so fun anymore. This is why all of this is not as exciting as it was. This is why I'm not as free as I was. So then when you see all of that, do you say in your head, help me, God? Or do you just stop with the observation, see the observation, thank you for the observation, and then that's it? I've observed it. Now, observing it, quantum physics says the power of the observer. I've observed it. So it's changing just by virtue of the fact that it was observed. Is it going to change me all the way back? Is that observation going to change it all back to me just being excited again? I don't know. I don't think so. I think somewhere along the line there has to be a willingness to receive divine help in. And a willingness to receive divine help in for all of us.
Yeah.
Divine help for this family, divine help for my mother, divine help for my father, divine help for us all. Because you don't know, like it feels like there's a pattern of unwillingness to abandon, unwillingness to be released, unwillingness to release ourselves, unwillingness to freedom. Unwillingness to allow legs to be freer and muscles to be freer and the freedom of muscles to be activated and stay activated. And so you just kind of sit in that. Ho'oponopono might say, okay, maybe that's what I'm reaching for. Ho'oponopono, I take responsibility for this lack of freedom. I take responsibility for a freedom that I knew and a freedom that I was given, and a freedom that I was given through these activations and blah, 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 that I could not sustain, that I could not stay in the presence of. Forgive me, I love you, I am sorry. Forgive me, I love you, I am sorry. I have my reasons, God, I have my reasons. I'm going to stay with her. I'm choosing to stay with her. I'm choosing to stay in a more suffering place. I'm choosing to stay in a less movement place because I can't live with myself. How do I live with myself? How do I say yes to happiness, and how do I say yes to joy? How do I feel okay with what I have and with what I have access to when I don't see that somebody else has access to this? Could be a struggle that many people have had who, if you really think about it, many people have had who didn't have any kind of financial issue at all during this whole pandemic time. None. They might have actually gotten raises during this time. Like maybe they had the hardship of working out of home and having to figure out how to homeschool kids, but they had a full salary. They had a full salary. There was no financial detriment to them whatsoever. And are they okay with that? Are they okay with that when they see the person down the street or the person next to them or their neighbor whose just job has been decimated, their business has been decimated, two of their friends who had small businesses that are just destroyed? And are they okay? Are they okay? Are they feeling okay about their wealth, their lack of financial hardship during this time? And maybe some are. Maybe some aren't. And is that why you've got mass amounts of people donating a bunch of money to Ukraine? Have my money. Have some money. Here, have lots of money. I'm not at peace with my money. So it's just an interesting place to sit in. Mm-hmm. The how do I allow for a life where there's very little suffering, or a life that's just filled with joy and filled with peace? How do I allow for that when I don't see that everywhere. When I don't see that mirrored back to me everywhere. How is that okay with me? And is that okay with me? And then I can hear my father. I can hear my father in his ears, and in my ears, and I can't tell you how many times he said this in my lifetime. He's still alive. Mm-hmm. And he said, Tracy, and kind of a gruff, stern voice, so it becomes hard to really hear it because it's such a gruff, stern voice. Tracy, the world isn't fair. Like, who told you, like in that, how many times would I say this as my heart was bleeding for something that was going on? Tracy, who told you the world was fair? How did you ever get the idea that the world was fair? But what did I want? I wanted the world to be fair.
Of course.
I wanted to be fair. I wanted everybody to have what our family had. Our family wasn't rich, but our family, we didn't struggle. We didn't struggle for food. I wanted everybody to have what our family had. I wanted that for everybody. And it wasn't until I got to live a more spiritual life that I recognized that just because I want that doesn't mean somebody can receive that. Doesn't mean they can allow that. So if I took it more simply, if somebody's still holding on to not wanting to abandon their mother, and their mother was poor, and their mother lived in scarcity for their whole life, and maybe their mother's dead, but they still don't want to abandon their mother, so they're staying in that place of scarcity. But I want fairness. I want fairness, and I want you to have as much as I have. And then that person would go, I got to stay here. I got to stay here. This is where I belong. This is where I sit. This is my place. Next to my mother. Next to my father. Next to my tribe. Right. So that's really nice that you want that for me and that you pray for that for me. That's really nice. But I'm sorry, I can't receive that. I'm staying here with them. And yes, we will suffer, but I will be with them.
Been there. Many times.
Mm-hmm.
Even to people I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Biologically, I knew them, but not physically.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think I've said this on another show. It was a troubling thing for me to hear the first time I heard it, when somebody said to me a kind of a Buddhist principle, a way of seeing humanity. To be human is to suffer. Yeah. And the first time I heard that, I went, how can I follow a Buddhist anything if this is the way they see? To be human is to suffer. But then I started to realize, when I sat kind of in a meditative state, I started to realize, oh, you're describing where the human consciousness is right now. You're describing that. You're not saying this is the experience for the human forever. You're saying this is where the human currently is in consciousness. And then we all have our own versions of suffering. And we all take on our own versions of suffering. But I think I've said in previous shows, it's all changing now. You know, the light grid of the earth can hold us and sustain us and fortify us and recharge us. It was interesting having this conversation. I loved having a conversation the other day with a girlfriend of mine when she reminded me that while the earth could not sustain us and recharge us, that we had to turn to the universe to do that. That we could be recharged in the universe. But a lot of us weren't doing that. And so there was a truth to this concept that the earth could not sustain us. Not by the way that the World Economic Forum is seeing it, from a physical perspective of food. It's like, no, the earth couldn't sustain us because the light technology was down. The luminous field of the earth was not what it could be. It was not at its best, nor were we at our best. And so our way to recharge our battery really came more from a connection to the universe itself rather than a connection to this earth. And now there's been all sorts of really cool changes that have brought the Earth's luminous field into a much, much better place of repair. We can recharge ourselves through connection to the Earth. Not just recharge from an electricity standpoint, but from a light standpoint. And we also have an ability to recharge ourselves through the universe. And it appears to me that this whole luminous field of the Earth has now been more brought back into alignment with the universe. So it's just super amazing what's available to us now as humans on this planet. And the truth is, now the Earth can sustain us, which means the ways of us operate, to be human is to suffer, do not have to be that way anymore. Which means we can now fully, and I love the word fully, I think I've said it before, fully let go of the sufferings of the past. We can fully let go of the stories of the suffering and pain of our past. And so all of the things that are going on right now, Russia, Ukraine, all of the things going on that spiked up with Trudeau and, taking on supreme powers and shutting down people's bank accounts and all of this stuff. It's like, it's all remembrances of dictatorships. It's all remembrances of tyranny. It's all remembrances of just corrupted human miscreation that we are now giving ourselves an opportunity to be in the presence of again. And then people are saying, no, we don't want this. No, never again. No, we're not, we don't know. And as you get no, we don't want this. No. Then it goes beyond no, we don't want this. It's like fully give it back. Recognize that if you are being triggered by something that is one of these experiences of miscreation and corrupted government, not just corrupted government of governments of Canada and governments of US and governments of other countries, corrupted government from within self, fully give it back. Recognize that you are triggered. You are triggered because you have old story within you. Bottom line, you have old story within you. I am given a little bit of a respite. I don't have any old story of anything that connects to Russia and Ukraine going on for me. So what's going on right now is not triggering for me at all. I'm getting a break. I'm getting a break because the last couple of years have been deeply triggering all over the place. They have brought me back into Nazi Germany. They brought me back into all sorts of craziness. And so I've had a lot of giving away, giving back, letting go, fully letting go. And fully letting go of the authority figure programs, and fully letting go of the rebellion to authority programs, and fully letting go of the abuse of authority programs, and fully letting go of the betrayal of authority programs, and fully letting go of the mistreatment by authority programs, and fully letting go of the protected by authority programs and then not protected by authority programs, and just really just a full letting go of all of that. Because how can we be our own authority, self-authority, if we've got all of this stuff around authority and all of the old stories of misbehavior and miscreation in connection to authority still operating within us? Give it all back. When we could not be sustained by the earth, when we were not technologically in a light circuitry with the earth, and when we could not fully be ourselves, we were behaving in corrupted ways. All of us. Couldn't be any other way. So we were creating a lot of miscreations and a lot of turmoil and a lot of problem and a lot of destructiveness. and it can be different now. And so it's allowing for a full releasing of whatever the life or lifetimes are that are triggering you right now with whatever it is that's in your field, whether it's a mother issue or a father issue or a Trudeau issue or a Ukraine issue. It's triggering you. If it's triggering you, you are in an overreactive place, and you're overreactive because you got issues in your tissues from past experience that needs to be 100% released now. Fully released. We're not playing around this time. We're not leaving any little bit behind this time. Not this time. This isn't just a bandage fix this time. We are doing like 180-degree great turning. And so what's going to take over the experience, if we're going to talk about taking over, if something's going to take over us, it's going to be us. It's going to be the light of us, not some sort of robot technology. No. We don't need that. We got a higher intelligence within us that we have not even investigated. Thank you very much. We don't need some artificial intelligence. We need to allow for our own light intelligence, which means us. We're going to be the big takeover. Isn't that kind of a cool thought?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's happening. That can happen now. That can happen now because we have the foundation for that to happen now. The luminous field of the earth, repaired, light technology of us in relationship with the earth, us in relationship with the universe, repaired. It's all repaired. Now it's interesting because we're looking at each other. We're on a radio show, but you and I are looking at each other. And your eyes are doing something very interesting. So what's your thought?
It's just bringing up a lot of stuff that I know is.
So can you fully let it go? And can you allow for an upgrade, one or more of your ego and your, so that they will get so beautifully upgraded that they will have no desire to hold on to an old solution to this issue. They will have no desire to hold on to anything or stay attached to anything. And they can fully release whatever this is at whatever stage it got to. And just, so no, ego didn't get what it wanted. No, the agenda wasn't fulfilled. No, it didn't complete its cycle. No, fine, let it go. Let it go, because the other cool piece of this, we can have now what we truly want. We can have now what we truly want. But most people have no idea what they truly want. They have no idea what they truly want because we couldn't be the 2,000 watt light bulb plugged into a 2,000 watt socket. So how can you know what you truly want if you can't even access yourself? We can have what we truly want. So if I go to the inner core, if I get connection to the inner core of me, the inner knowing of me, the inner light of me, from that place, what do I want? What do I want from that place? What do I want for my life from that place? And it might take allowing for some of these old stories just to leave, to make it easier for you, me, somebody else to access that inner core. It's interesting as I'm paying attention to you energetically I just feel this, there's something from this talk. It's like it's big and it's moving and it's lifting I don't want to give it a name, but it is lifting. And so just allow it to leave. It's energy. It's energy. What happens if what's lifting is just a giant ball of energy of anger, a giant ball of energy of sadness? But it's yesterday's sadness. It's yesterday's anger. It's yesterday's story. It's a story that we don't need anymore. We really don't need it anymore. We can have what we want, what we truly want, from that inner core light aspect of ourself. We don't have to take some sort of consolation prize. And I love to say that when that occurs, that this is going to be a Miss America piece where you go to the inner core and it says, world peace. That's what I want. It deeply want is world peace. Because I don't think that's what it's going to be. Our soul does have soul desire. There is a mission here for the soul. And I think that's what we deeply want. We want that mission fulfilled. Whatever that is. And it's different for each person. We want that mission fulfilled. And in order for that mission to be filled, we've got to kind of be able to access that mission.
I think it's always funny when it's like, I have no idea what it is. It's one of those things I have to sit with for a bit. It's like, yeah, how old do you need to get before you know what it is?
Well, I think that passion really does connect into mission. True. I think what we find ourselves passionate about, the kinds of things that we can't walk away from. Like, haven't you found that for yourself? The things that you can't walk away from, like even though they've created pain, and even though they've created hardship, and even though they haven't worked out, and even though maybe they failed here, you just can't walk away from it. That's usually a clue. And the thing that you just have to turn around and, yeah, it might have taken a couple of years to move to a place of getting to the place of starting over. But it's like, you know, you got to start over. And maybe for 2 years where you're sitting there grieving and upset, it's just like, man, shit, I got to start over. I got to do this again.
Right.
Then chances are that's soul mission. And did it land you in, will your soul mission land you in fame and fortune? And maybe. Lots of times not. Yeah, but I don't think my soul mission was to struggle.
No, definitely not.
Or to stay with my mother this way.
Right.
I think if I sat with my mother right now and said, hey, Mom, you know, I was really on this roll. Let me tell you, Mom, I was really on this roll. I went to this Lester person and blah, 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 blah. And I was really feeling really good and I was all pumped up and blah, blah. And then it just started to diminish itself. And I sat quietly and kind of figured out that that was like that because it was just too hard to just think that I could walk up and down the stairs way better than you were walking up and down the stairs. And I just couldn't do that. Then my mother might smack me. Yeah, my mother wouldn't smack me. But I know that she'd probably scold me. I know that she'd probably say, Tracy, that's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? You've got all these years ahead of you. And I'm 85. What are you thinking? My mother would probably say, I need to see you on your way. I need to see you take these next couple of steps. I need to see you before I pass. You know, that would be helpful to me. Mm-hmm. I'd be more at peace with my passing if I could see you walking better up those stairs than you've walked up those stairs and down those stairs for the last 10 years, that would be more peaceful at my heart. She'd probably say something like that.
Of course. As you would say to your son. Right?
Yeah, true.
Exactly.
But when we're in it, boy, we're in it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when we love, we love. And when we love deeply. And then we are prepared to sacrifice. We are prepared to give up our life. We are prepared to stop our life. We are prepared to, curtail our life, restrict our life. Yeah. And it's kind of crazy. It's like, it'd almost be saying it's hard sometimes when we love that deeply to get on with our life, to kind of feel okay taking those next steps that might take us farther away from some of the people that we really loved. Right. So it's not easy. And we might sit with that God energy going, this isn't easy. This isn't easy to follow this soul path. This isn't easy. And the God energy might kind of stroke the head and go, I know. I know. I know. Hold my hand. Let me hug you. I know. I feel a lot of that weight that I was feeling a couple of minutes ago left. It's not there so much anymore. Just a little bit. And notice, I like to say this out loud. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea what it was. I didn't feel the need to investigate it. I didn't feel the need to poke at it. I was aware. I observed that weight kind of starting to lift out. But I wasn't pulled to observe it. I wasn't pulled to pick it apart. I wasn't pulled to understand it. It could leave without being understood, as long as we were allowing for it to leave without being any further understood. And sometimes we need to dig in. We need to understand that little tiny piece.
Right.
And then the compassion can come in, and then we can really understand ourselves, and then we can really understand why this has been so hard. We can really get it. And then 40 other things can just get let go of. Yeah. So it's kind of that beautiful, what do we really need to know? What do we really need to know? What do we really need to understand? Deliver to us those understandings and help us to just fully release the rest. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of interesting. I had no idea we were going to go to some of those places, but interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And the releasing of those authority figure programs, like it was Art Martin that first brought that into my awareness. So he was a neurocellular repatterning. He talked about one authority figure program, the authority figure program that is downloaded into us right from the very beginning, where it helps the child to then pay attention to the master called the parrot. So there's a programming to that. But at the very beginning of this, let's call it pandemic, in the night 2020, I got led back to the book, I got led back to that manual, and I got told that there was more than one authority figure program.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And so, again, I was being made to understand that we could be inundated by authority figure programs, not moved out, still lived in, consciousness still trapped in, from other lifetimes. So other timelines, other dimensions. So the same authority figure program, this whole child to parent program, but now instead of it just being the one downloaded for you, you could actually be inundated with programs that were suppressing you from growing up, suppressing you from being anything but the child listening to the authority adult, that were coming in from past lives, other timelines, and other dimensions. So that was helpful. I could literally, and that was great. That unhooked some really seriously amazing things for me. Because what he said in that authority figure program is, he said, if you have those running, if you see somebody else as authority, whoever it is, if you see them as authority, if you recognize them as knowing more than you know about any topic, which means they are authority, then you will give away your power. If you are still operating from those authority figure programs, you will give away your power to them. Also, he said that if you are in the presence of a doctor authority who literally then said to you, you have this cancer. Even if you didn't have that cancer, you didn't actually have that cancer, and that authority figure was wrong, if you still have those programs operating, you will start manifesting the symptoms of that cancer because you gave your power away and now you've been told that you have cancer. Right. So I thought this is very powerful. Like, thank you for bringing me back here. Thank you for expanding the work of Dr. Art Martin, who I do not think is alive anymore. Like, thank you for letting me see this. And I thought about it and I went, wow, how many people are being inundated right now by authority figure programs, child authority figure programs, where they're giving their power away to authorities, meaning government authorities, like provincial authorities, federal authorities, like just saying, okay, I know nothing, you know, and so I'm giving away my power to you. And I'm just going to take this. I'm just going to take this shot or whatever it is. I'm going to do exactly what you tell me to do. I'm going to mask. I'm going to do this. You are the authority. And I'm not questioning the authority. And I would never dare question the authority. I am child. And I thought, wow, this is very powerful. Mm-hmm. And then to recognize that it could be in timelines and dimensions. So then, and I know I've got to close off in a couple of minutes, but so then the other very interesting thing that just comes in a month ago, and maybe this is why I'm not hooked into anything that's going on with Russia and the Ukraine, I don't know. But then I started to go back. I got sent back to the authority figure programs. I'm going back here again. I'm back here again. What am I learning now? And then what I saw was a whole bunch of other authority figure programs they were giving me, and it started with rebellion to authority.
Oh, yeah, that would be me.
Right? And so the rebellion to authority programs that come from the beliefs about authority. So I'm rebelling against you because there are beliefs that say you don't have my best interest at heart. Like blanket, you don't have my best interest at heart, so I'm rebelling against you.
Right.
So it's the rebellion against authority programs. And so it came in after Justin Trudeau took his big, huge power grab. Mm-hmm. And that's when I saw that. And that they led me there the very next day. And I was like, wow, okay. So this is rebellion to authority programs that are not just operating at my level or your level, but are timelines. So timelines and dimensions, like move them all. Like move out all the old story. And then they just, once that one was moved, then a whole bunch of them just started to fall. And it was like abuse of authority, abuse by authority, judgment of authority, abuse of authority, mistreatment by authority, protection by authority, not protected by authority, mistrust of authority, lack of faith in authority. It was just like, it just started to fall. Just boom, 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 boom. And I was just like, wow, this is big. Mm-hmm. This is big, this cleansing and clearing of all of these ideas around authority. And I saw how important that was. If you have any of this stuff running in the background, it's going to sabotage your ability to feel at pure peace, connecting to your own inner authority within yourself. And you'll be always wanting to kind of get somewhere else, like not at peace with you in authority. And so it might then be the insidiousness of talking to a friend. What do you think about this? What do you think about? Not necessarily that you're seeing them as an authority, but there's all this, what do you think, self-doubt, because you can't accept your own inner knowing. You can't trust your own inner knowing. Why? Because you've got mistrust of authority programs operating. You don't have faith in that or trust in that, or belief that it won't abuse you or harm you or take your life. or threaten you, being threatened by authority. It was so powerful to see what Justin Trudeau gave to us if you got out of your judgment and your fear and got to work seeing this, because he showed all of it. And it was so difficult to experience that. Like it was all there. Betrayal, mistreatment, you're supposed to protect us. You're not protecting us. You're stealing from us. It's like, authority. I didn't clear that one. Authority stealing from us. And it's like, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I'm getting to the place. I'm really getting to the place. You know how I've said to you in another talk, this wonderful person who wrote these words. I wish I could credit them because I saw them on the internet. I don't know who it was. We're all holding hands and walking each other home. Mm. Well, a month ago, 2 months ago, I would have said, okay, I believe that to be true. We are all helping each other on this journey home, and we can get there in this life. We can get there in this life. And we're all helping. What you call the evil ones, the dark ones, though, from wherever perspective that you're coming from, we're all helping. No judgment. But I would still say to somebody, okay, we're all holding hands and walking each other home. I want to be 1,000,000 hands away from Justin Trudeau. Like 1,000,000 hands away from Justin Trudeau. I am in such judgment of him.
Right.
After I saw this, after I saw his behavior and what was possible because he showed this to us, and what could clear for people because he showed this to us, oh, I'm almost at the place where I could hold his hand directly.
Nice.
And say thank you for who you are and how you're showing up and how deeply you are compromising yourself to show up like this for us. So I'm almost at the place where I will move 1,000,000 segments to hold his hand. And don't mistake it, but because I like how he's behaving.
No, we know that.
Because I don't like how he's behaving. I like what he's giving us the opportunity to clear and be triggered by. Okay, didn't even know I was going to go there, but I think that's kind of a cool place to let people sit with.
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, I'd be really interested in anybody getting back to you where you can get back to me, or give somebody my email directly, because if anybody can come up with any other authority figure programs that I have not mentioned that they have found within themselves, I'd be very interested in hearing about them. Really interested in what somebody else was able to discover when they sat with that idea of, I want to go beautifully and easily into being my own authority. And so I have a willingness to clear all old authority figure programmings coming in from other lifetimes that are not making that easy.
Right.
And fully clearing them out. So I've done a pretty good job, I think, of giving you a bunch of them. And I'd be really interested in seeing what everybody else would be coming up with who sat quietly with this themselves and uncovered something.
Okay.
That was dogging them.
Love it.
Yeah, because I'll show you, the world's showing us this right now.
It sure is.
It really is.
It really, really is. Well, thanks, Trace. This has been a good show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. You've been listening to News for the Heart. We've been getting the heart of what matters with Tracy McBurney. And, will to wellness is how it started, and it ended with authority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the issues with being your own authority.
Yeah, that's actually quite important. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks, Trace.
Okay. All right.